What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, welcome back for another 5 biggest takeaways from the most recent town hall. I usually give my caveat of like, this is not a summary. There's awesome there's awesome content creators out there, both written and video, that put together summaries, and I think I'm gonna take that back just for this one because there was so much in there. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of my sneak peek of the notes, and there's a lot to talk about. So I'm going to apologize in advance that this video will probably be longer. I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can, but it'll probably be a little bit longer just because I want to make sure that we touch upon many of these points, and then I'm probably going to leave a lot of these points for separate videos once I have a little bit more time to digest them and think them through. For example, I already talked through one of the biggest things, which was oh gosh, I can't even remember now. Oh yeah, one of the upcoming proposals. So that was its own thing already. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Matt was on, obviously, but PJ, the CTO, was always on. Not always, was on as well. And then you had Weirdbeard, Farpetrad, Land Guy, Investigator, and Rondon. So solid crew today. Okay, first thing they addressed was the hack. That's what PJ was on for, to talk through more about the hack, and then Matt added some insight as well later on. Main deal is that it's a third-party service that got hacked. So it wasn't the company, but a third-party service that they used. There were 10 wallets in total, I think, that were compromised. And as Matt was saying, this was part of the legacy system. And if you think about where the market was about 15-ish months ago, right? So January of 2022, it was right after the launch of Chaos Legion that we moved over to TerraBlock as the new bridge support for Binance and Ethereum, or BNB and ETH. So at that point in time, Matt came on and said that it was just a crazy time, right? So there was just a lot going on. The team had grown dramatically, and a lot of stuff just slipped through the cracks. They did not have a grasp on everything the way that they have a grasp on things now. So, ultimately, there's a certain amount of leniency that I think I would give there. I'm not expecting many others to give that, but I would give a certain level of leniency because I understand that to a certain extent I've been able to see a little bit behind the curtain as well, and I'll say that I do believe that where the company has been since like the end of last year after the layoffs, it has been laser focused. It feels like there's just so much, there's still always going to be room for improvement, but the team is like on another level when it comes to like just being organized and having everything in focus. So I can understand where things were. Now, is it still disappointing? Obviously, that, it's almost like $200,000 that was lost, $200,000 that could have gone towards something, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, while I can understand the teams and many people in the communities, I don't want to say it's not an apathetic response, but it's being touted that by people who are very, very much against us or very salty right now. It's just the team is like, it could have been much worse, right? So thankfully it wasn't, and they're doing all of their checks now to make sure that everything is buttoned up properly. So that's really all that we could ask for. Ultimately, what it's going to come down to is like fool. What is that? What is the saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Or no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right. So the team is saying that they're doing this. I hope that they are. I have confidence that they will. I mean, again, it's not a small amount of money, but from everything that I've seen, I'm hoping that this is something that was a relatively inexpensive lesson, just to make sure that they know that they're being targeted now, right? They know that the game and the ecosystem is big enough to try to exploit. So hopefully they have their walls and their guards up in place. So we'll move on to number 2. Number 2 was Land. So you had Farpetrad on there, and Farpetrad talked a lot about where Land Phase 1.5 is. He did not give an estimated date, although it seems like, they're still targeting June at this point. It sounds like Creative is working on what Creative does, and then what Farpetrad is focusing on specifically is doing the back end for monster staking on Land, because that's going to be the biggest thing. And I don't even have it in the notes here, but That's kind of where the update on 1.5 is. Now, the two things that I think are really important, or at least that I wanted to call out, are the locking of deeds and other land-related assets potentially coming very soon. That is very much a priority for the team, especially obviously after the hack and just wanting to make sure that security is tip-top shape, right? So I would say, in addition to this, if you're not familiar with how to lock your cards, let me know. I can make a video on that. But that's something that I would recommend that you do, especially just for your main deck or for cards that have like any decent value. I mean, even your gladiator cards, because somebody could come in and potentially just burn all your gladiator cards for DEC and then drain your account of DEC. So locking mechanisms are going to be very important, and I'm glad that they're going to focus on this for land coming very soon. The other part, and I think this is important because they're recognizing just how important this is going to be for the game economy, for landholders as well as non-landholders. They want to be able to make sure that card rentals for land are set aside on day one. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you put your card up for rental or for rent, right? Like you can now choose, or you will be able to choose, I should say, whether you want it to be available for ranked battles or if you want it to be made available for land, because there is a 3-day cooldown period with land. So you'll have to know that if you want to, for example, take your card back or cancel the rental or whatever the case is, or they cancel the rental, there will still be a 3-day cooldown period before you can get it back. Right now, I would assume that the owner of the land who is renting your card, so the rentee, is going to be the one who eats that 3-day cost where the monster is not producing anything, but they still pay for it, right? So that's not going to be coming from you if you are renting, if you're the card lord and renting the card out. But it is something that you'll need to be aware of, where it's just like, okay, if I want to cancel and I want to cancel from this date, it's going to be an additional 3 days, right? So, or if I want to cancel from today, it's going to be an additional 3 days. So I think that's really important. Obviously, we want much more economy-based activity when land comes out. There's already going to be a ton, but just seeing a robust economy that will hopefully offer even more DEC burning through the market listing fee, I think that's going to be great. So one thing that I'm going to call out here that I'll probably save for a separate video as well once we get a little bit more details on this, but this could dry up card supply even more, because if you are listing your cards for rent on land, they're not available for rent in the marketplace anymore. So, I'm assuming this is probably going to be a lot of higher level cards, a lot of maxed out cards. So when you think about people who are trying to rent up for, Diamond and Champ, there's not going to be, again, there's probably still going to be a lot of cards out there, and there'll still be ratings inflation, all these other things we got to fix, but there's just going to be less cards. So something to think about. Even if all the landholders don't have everything they need, if they can go to the market and rent it and be ROI positive, that could be huge for the economy and the card scarcity that the team is very much wanting the community to feel. Okay, number 3, we have guilds, and Matt was on talking a lot about what they have in terms of ideas for guilds. There was actually a lot of alpha here. I hope I was able to capture all of it. We've talked about the guild contribution points before. This is something that Matt teased previously, but it looks like we have some rough numbers. Again, nothing is set in stone until it's in a post, and even then, it might be voted on it might be counter proposed by the community afterwards, or even counter proposed by the team afterwards, right? So as we'll see with some of the other things coming up. So the guild contribution points are things that you'll be able to take to another guild, but you won't be able to take 100%. It looks like you'll be able to take 90% of whatever you give to a guild, but even still 90% is significant, because now it's just like, well, now I don't have to worry if the owner becomes a jerk and kicks me out, or whatever the case is. I don't have to worry about that. I can at least get a lot of my value back. Now, when it comes to the upcoming buildings, I was a little disappointed to learn that there will be a lot of staking involved, right? So you'll be able to stake SPS, vouchers, which was the disappointing part because I want to see vouchers burned, and then cards and even packs were mentioned as something that you'll potentially be able to stake on guild buildings. But this makes sense from a guild contribution points standpoint, right? Well, actually, it doesn't. It's just like, I would still want them to burn vouchers. That would be awesome if we could burn the vouchers and then use those to get guild contribution points. But I can understand, like, you're not going to, like, if you were to burn SPS on like a building, right? For example, you may not be able to take that with you. Or if you burn cards, you may not be able to take that with you, right? Like I think the guild contribution points are going to be easiest to determine if they're just pegged to DEC potentially, right? And hopefully DEC stays at or near its peg. So I can understand vouchers being something that's staked, but then, it's still not, I don't know. It's like, I just want them gone. I just want them gone, and it'd be awesome if they were gone. But we'll see. We'll see we'll see what they end up doing with it. But I like the idea of being able to stake SPS. I like the idea of being able to stake cards. I don't know. We don't know what these benefits are going to offer overall. But ultimately, and we'll get into the staking of SPS as a SPS delegation is something we're going to discuss in the validator section. So, the staking of resources, it's great to see that guilds are going to require a lot more. We want to see more utility across the board for SPS, vouchers, cards. I mean, even packs. People are just sitting on packs. You might be able to do something productive with them now, which would be really cool. So, this could even dry up packs off the market because it's like, oh, I don't necessarily need or want to hold any more packs. But, if I need it for my guild, then let me just buy it, right? Because now it's like, well, I'm earning something with my packs, maybe not financially, but I'm doing something productive with the packs, and I get to sit on them for long-term potential, return on investment. Now, when it comes to the guild contribution points, there will be an option to donate them to the guild because let's say you were to ever leave the guild, right? You would take the 90% with you. But let's say you were just like, I love this guild. Even if they kick me out at some point, I just want this guild to have these, contribution points forever. You'll have the option to do that and not worry about like, okay, what happens to the guild after I leave, for example. So I'm assuming that this might be used for people who are maybe just serial guild builders, right? They go in, they lead up a guild, and then they appoint someone new, and then they leave, but they don't want to end up leaving. With all of the contribution points that they put in. Maybe they put in a friend. Maybe it's an alt account that they have, right? So I can see the option to donate actually being something that's useful for a lot of the. Again, we don't have guild alliances, but really it's just like the guild alliances that currently exist, right? All the guilds that have multiple variations, right? So your Immortal Gods, Team Possible, all those kinds. YGG is another one. And then there's also, they were talking about what are they going to do about inactive members, right? So if you've had an inactive member, or specifically like an inactive leader, for example, there will be options to remove the leader at some point in the future, and they want to put this all with the guild updates. Now, it sounds like it's just going to be based on time. So, if the leader's gone for X amount of time, you'll be able to remove them. But I don't know what a fair time for that is. A lot of people came in during the big boom. So part of me is just like, if they've been gone for like, it's got to be at least a year, maybe even 18 months, right? I would think that would probably be the minimum that you'd have. And then DECB for guilds is something that will be live hopefully next week. That's what Weirdbeard was teasing. Lastly, if you have already donated DEC to your guilds, somebody had asked this later on, and I forgot to make a note of it here. But if you've already donated DEC, you did so. Matt said that you did so with the knowledge that you wouldn't be getting it back. So that being said, it doesn't sound like those will be able to be backdated and you'll be able to get contribution points. Now, Matt did say they're going to try and look into it if they can backdate stuff, but for the most part, I think this is going to be something moving forward. So, hopefully where this will apply to is if DEC is still needed in a lot of other buildings. And so, a lot of guilds now, a lot of newer guilds especially, are going to need more DEC burned. Well, then, this will be an opportunity where people will be able to chip in without worrying, right? Because if they've already chipped in, they did so with the knowledge that they're never going to get that back. But hopefully this will inspire and encourage many people to start doing more. Okay, there's going to be a couple of upcoming proposals. I think we heard two. I mean, there might have been more, but again, there was just so much there. I already talked about the Rift Watchers for DEC. I did a separate video on that, so I don't want to harp on this any more than I need to. Basically, I think I'm for it, right? It's going to be for, I believe, 5,000 DEC, similar to what the last one was, but the remix on this is that DEC would get burned. Now, I am 100% for this. I understand a lot of the counter arguments, but when you do the math, there's 2 million Riftwatcher packs left, and 5K DEC for each of them is going to be 10 billion DEC. So when you think about 10 billion DEC and the fact that we only have about 5 billion in circulation right now, just imagine how much SPS that's going to burn. So to me, the value all goes into SPS, and we're going to find, in my opinion, we can find many other ways to fund the DAO over time. But we can burn through a heck of a lot of DEC. We can burn through a heck of a lot of SPS right now, especially when SPS is low. So, and this might even help to set a new floor for SPS if people are wanting to buy SPS because of the fact that Riftwatcher cards are available through DEC, and DEC is, struggling to maintain its peg for whatever reason. Now, the other part of this it has been a hot topic, but Matt wants to cap the base production points per plot. I'll need to see what this actually looks like in action, but I'll tell you right off the bat that I'm probably going to be for it, mainly because I'm trusting where Matt's head is at right now. What he's trying to do is limit essentially like 10 players who have maxed alpha gold foil cards from just absolutely dominating the production point system. And so because of that, right, and he's even one of them. So because of that, it's just like you can put 10 alpha gold, gold foil legendaries on a single plot. And each one, I think, will be 100,000 base production points. So if you think about it from that standpoint, it's just like, that's 500,000 base production standpoint, base production. You add a Rooney to double that. You add a legendary totem to double it, right? If the cards are aligned with the land, right? Terrain preferences, that's an extra 10%. Whatever that might already be included. But point being that this would limit the amount and essentially not allow whales or several whales to be able to dominate the PP per plot, because then they could just get grain for ridiculously cheap. They would also get major shares of the SPS, and obviously they would be winning and leading whatever the research tokens for Secret of Praetoria would be. So I like this. I think it makes it a little bit more democratic isn't the word, but just like egalitarian. It's just easier. It's more spread out. It focuses more on spreading out those top tier cards. And this is something, people always complain that the team tries to cater to the whales. I think this is something where Matt finally ran the numbers, saw that there was like 10 people, and it's just like these 10 people could essentially just dominate the entire thing, and we can't really allow that. So, or at least we prefer not to allow that. So I don't see why anybody who isn't affected by this would vote against it. And even for those who are affected by it, if you're one of those 10 to, I don't know, maybe 15 people, I would still expect, hopefully, a lot of them to vote for it. I mean, I would expect Matt and Aggie to probably vote for it as well, just because this is going to be for the good of the game. Okay, so we'll wait for the actual proposal to come out and see what the wording is. Number 5, lots of promos in the works here. First of all, we have a release date for the promo card. It's not going to be in April, but it'll just be 2 days late from the end of April. Looks like that is going to go live for May 2nd. And Matt in the comments did say that vouchers and DEC would be required. Now here's the magic part. Matt earlier, not in the not when Weirdbeard was talking about this, but Matt earlier in the stream was talking about all the crazy stuff he's working on, and he just casually dropped Multicolored Summoner like it was nothing. So that then led to Weirdbeard talking about the promo card sale date, May 2nd, and some random conversation about ice cream and how you like vanilla, you like chocolate, but what's the best? It's a swirl. So, you can put the pieces together on that. This would be my guess. Again, just with all of that. And Weirdbeard was even in Mav chat afterwards talking about it further. So I think that it's a fair assumption that we may get a really cool and unique not one of a kind, but definitely first of its kind promo card, and that is coming here within a couple of weeks. So that is exciting. Make sure you have your vouchers and DEC ready for that. Now the promo set, which is what Aggie has been talking about with this potential movie studio. It sounds like Aggie just said June already has a lot going on. And when you think about the fact that creative is super busy trying to get land done, I don't think that there's any chance we're going to get this promo set in June. Because keep in mind, we're more than halfway through April now, and it really just depends on how land goes with all of the other stuff. So I would say that if we're going to get a promo set, it's probably going to be in Q3, right? Because June is the last month of Q2. And I would say that the chances now the chances of Rebellion moving into 2024 are getting higher and higher in my book. Again, the earliest date for Rebellion, in my opinion, is November now. So anybody thinking that we're still going to get Rebellion in the second half of the year, or Q3 or whatever, I don't think there's a chance, right? It sounds like the promo set is going to happen. I think Aggie said that he was going to try and ink the deal soon. So if that's going to happen, and its original time frame was June, I could have seen a November, December release for Rebellion, but at this point, it's looking more and more like 2024 to me. At least that's just my opinion. So we'll see how things actually end up shaking out. Okay, and then number 6, before we get into some random bonus items, validators. So we found out that the private net is planned to go live in June, which is really exciting. Now, here's something that is not necessarily validator related outside of the fact that the team is no longer waiting for the validators to actually be live to do this, and that is SPS delegation. So, that's something that's been on the roadmap since last quarter. And Matt said that this is planned to come out in a few weeks, and he's saying that the team is just going to suck it up and essentially build it twice, right? So to build it once before the validators are ready, and then to rebuild it or tweak it as needed once the validators are live. So what does this mean? Well, CP being used as a gate for the leagues is going to be replaced with SPS staking. So that will follow shortly afterwards, and it sounds like this is somewhat of a priority. I don't want to say it's a definite or maximum priority, but it's definitely something that the team has been hinting to and wanting to get to for a while. So it sounds like as soon as SPS delegation does go live, and hopefully that's in the next few weeks, I don't even know how to like evaluate or approximate what next few weeks when the team gives a timeline. So I'm just going to say next month. So we'll say mid-May. It's exciting to think that we could have the CP replaced shortly after that, sometime in June. So again, obviously all this stuff is essentially falling in Q2, but it would be awesome if we can get some of this stuff in May. And if, the validators, not the validators, but if delegation actually goes live sooner than expected, or sooner than mid-May, I should say, then this could shape up for a very exciting Q2 or end to Q2, because we already know that June has so much stuff going on, stuff that's not even covered here, which includes tower defense and GLG. And yes, Aggie did kind of like slip. Well, not slip. He just said, that we're expecting tower defense in June. So the Double Coconut, David from Double Coconut who came on, saying that they were going to try to shoot for end of May. That sounds like it's out the window, and we're looking at June already. So I don't know. I don't know what that means for packs, because packs are supposedly going off the shelf in July. So it'd be kind of crazy for there to only be 1 month of the game being live and packs being available. So I feel like that's going to have to be addressed. But that's actually not something that, the DAO, it's not SPS related. So the team can just arbitrarily choose whatever they want to do there. Okay, that's, I guess, the 6 items. And then bonus, there's a lot of stuff. So there will be Brawl and tournament notifications in the settings now, where you'll be able to essentially turn those off. This is significant because, and shout out to Darkest Night. Sorry if I'm sharing too much information here, but Darkest Night actually said that the reason he doesn't like to jump into tournaments is because he just doesn't want to deal with the settings. So something as fickle as that, it just bothers people enough that they don't want to participate, or they get annoyed. So in that way, I'm just glad that we're getting a little bit more of a quality of life update. So both for brawls and tournaments, you'll be able to update that. Now, the energy and reward share tweaks, again, these could probably all have been their own points, but then this would be the 10 biggest takeaways rather than the 5+ biggest takeaways. But Matt said that they wanted to take a look at energy and see, now that they have some data, their plan was always to see what they could do in terms of potentially adding more energy. But don't quote me or him on that. But just know that it is being looked at. The other side of this, somebody asked if the print rate for the Soulbound reward cards, which is something that we're tracking here on this channel at the end of every season. Somebody asked Matt how he felt about that. And he said right now he feels good. But what essentially changed with the energy was the fact that people are earning a ton more reward shares, because even if you only have 1 energy left, you still get maximum reward shares. So they're looking to potentially tweak the amount of reward shares, the reward shares limits for chests, because a lot more chests are being opened now after that energy tweak. Now, I would say a lot of that has been offset by a lot of bots either leaving or, consolidating into higher level accounts. But ultimately, because we looked at the numbers and I'm actually comfortable with where it's at. But, obviously the team is looking at this at a layer deeper than that. So, there may be some tweaks to reward shares coming up. Now, somebody asked about, tournaments and bots and stuff. And Matt once again said, tournaments are their own thing. They're run by the DAO. And, if we want, we should make a proposal to ban bots from tournaments, and then we work with the team to try and figure out a solution. Now, it doesn't seem like, that's something that the team necessarily wants to do. And obviously where they should or shouldn't focus their time and energy, but this is a community decision after all. And so now the fact that Matt suggested, and I'm not saying that he suggested it like combatively. He was just like, if that's what the, community wants, then like propose it. So I'm asking you guys this. Is this something that we propose? Because I am all about tournaments right now and trying to create an awesome, safe for human space where we can, just ensure that it's a lot of human versus human competition and there's no extra benefits or whatever. So, this has been suggested and thrown out by the founder of the company several times. And I'm wondering, why not just give it a shot? So, let me know your thoughts on this. It's 100,000 DEC, which isn't a lot, but it's also not a little. But if there's support for this, then maybe we take this to Splex or to one of the community leaders to see if they're willing to get some feedback on this beforehand. But it's just been put out there several times, and me, I'm trying to get big on tournaments right now. So I'm strongly considering actually taking some action rather than it just being a talking point at all these different town halls. Okay, SPT token utility is coming in, and this thing, I think it pumped like 700%. For people not familiar, SPT is just a token. It's a Splinter talk token. It's given out for blogging on Hive. So if you blog on Hive and you talk about the game, they give out the SPT token. They're finding ways to give it utility because it has not had any since the end of the airdrop, where it was giving you, a certain amount of airdrop points if you were holding it. So hopefully there will be some utility coming for that. If you like to blog about the game, good for you. If you are not blogging about the game yet, this might be a reason to consider starting. I mean, there's also rewards. So, not just SPT rewards, but Hive rewards as well. Castle and keep tweaks are being considered. And I know I previewed this earlier in one of the other topics. So again, Matt's just looking at this, the production points thing, and then obviously the castle and keeps, and looking at the numbers and saying like, yeah, okay, well, there's certain things we didn't consider. So I'm not exactly sure. I would need to go back and listen to see if it's something that's worth, not something that's worth, but if something that's going to make castles and keeps stronger or worth more. I believe that is the case, but I'll go ahead and double check. And, if it's worth covering in a separate video, then we can do that. All right, last two items. Gladius card unlock. Somebody asked if once we're done with this current set of Gladiator cards, if they would be unlockable, and Matt said most likely, probably. So however you feel about Gladiator cards, that could potentially be something down the future. Keep in mind, many people have not yet even maxed out a single Gladiator. So it's going to be a while before that happens. But I think what could be cool is if they were to release a second Gladiator set, right, with some newer cards, and maybe it comes out with Rebellion, or kind of around the time of Rebellion, and then you can choose if you want to spend your merits on the old ones or the new ones, right? So I don't know, just interesting. And then I want to give a shout out to, I believe it was Nerd Cthulhu who mentioned this, but threw this idea out, and Matt actually really liked it. But when you earn your SPS from playing or rewards or whatever the case is, everything outside of LP rewards or staking rewards, you get that and it's automatically staked, right? So you just claim it and then boom, it all goes in and is automatically staked. Nerd Cthulhu suggested there be an option to, instead of claim it and have it automatically stake, if you could claim it and then automatically burn it for DEC. And the reason that this is so important is because a lot of new players come into the game that aren't familiar with tribal decks, that aren't familiar with, Hive Engine and trading, and, with DEC hopefully getting to and staying around its peg, burning SPS for DEC is going to be one of the easiest ways for new people coming into the game to not have to learn about all these third-party sites and just be able to convert SPS to DEC whenever they need to. But the problem is, you come in, you start playing, you're in your first season and you're earning a couple little SPS here. You try to unstake it, you only get 1/4 of it a week or two in, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm out of money, right? So I want to be able to be profitable or be able to use my earnings, right? My SPS earnings to go and rent more cards, for example, or go and buy more cards. So I like this idea. Matt seemed to like it. I don't know if it's something that will get implemented anytime soon, but I think it is a good idea for especially a lot of newer players, or for even players like myself, or people who've been around for a while, where it's just like, if you want something immediate, right? If you want to be able to immediately take advantage of something, then you can burn your SPS for DEC. And I think that still provides significant utility to SPS. It doesn't really affect anything. Sure, it moves up, the ability to spend it, moves up the ability to spend the value. But ultimately, you're burning the SPS, which is exactly what we want, right? Burning the SPS for DEC. So that hits the flywheel. Okay, so Nate wasn't on, so there wasn't much, if any, eye candy. I think that's all we got, man. We hit 30 minutes with this one, so this is crazy. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. I'm going to cut it right there. Again, lots to talk about. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. We'll continue the conversation there. And like I said, if there's anything you want me to dig deeper into, let me know, and I will be happy to. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of your day. Catch you all in the next video, and see you around the game. Take care.